Hello, gorgeous, and welcome to the Women on Top podcast. I'm your host, Valerie Lynn, and with over 15 years of business experience, I became truly passionate about finding ways to support and hear from way more women. And what we know to be true is that women thrive when they are in their favorite position, on top in business, in relationships, in personal growth, and on top in being real and authentic to who the hell they are. So I invite you to sit back and enjoy the Women on Top podcast. Okay, awesome. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Women on Top. And today I have such an exciting guest. I really have been looking forward to this episode because I feel like this woman is like cut from the same cloth as I am a little bit in the sense of like her sass, her business savvy, and just kind of being like a multi-passionate human. So, and even some of the background that she's been through. So today I have with me Chelsea Husum, who is a best-selling author. She's also a speaker, and she owns a successful construction company in Denver, Colorado, which I just think is so amazing. She really is a trailblazer, and she's in a very male-dominated industry, but still has built a really thriving company, so much so that she's won an award for her company recently. Chelsea also has endured and overcome some significant trauma in her life, which we'll get into as well. But like through all of that, she really is inspiring women to harness like hope and grit and truly just like embrace their own authenticity and realness throughout the difficult moments in life. So Chelsea, welcome in. I'm so glad that you're here today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So I've been loving your book, and I just really enjoy how you tell your story. And I feel like the chapters are so digestible, like they're kind of bite size and they really just give a lot of color. So for everyone listening, you need to go get her book, which is called Real Vibes Only. And I love that it's like crossed out in the title because it says good vibes only, like cross out real vibes only. I love that. So just kind of getting into it, you said in your book that it seems that you've been no stranger to reinvention throughout your life. And I feel as though a lot of women that I've talked to recently are kind of in this questionable season right now where they're kind of in this like question mark season, and kind of myself included, honestly. So what advice would you say to them to kind of give them some peace of mind during this time that might be kind of for some of us like really reinvention?
Yeah. I mean, I figured out over time that if I'm not doing something that is really aligned with me and that I love, like I got to move on quickly. It flows through my life and then I'm like, oh, I'm miserable at home and I'm cranky and I wake up every day like, oh my God, I have to go to work and I hate it. Right. So I have definitely changed, and I'll mention kind of like how I've gone through and changed careers in completely different ways. But for me, it's like, if I know deep down in my soul, like it's just not there for me, or I'm like flat out miserable, I just know I have to move on. And it is scary. So like for me, I thought I was going to be the next Barbara Walters. I have a Spanish degree, and then I have a broadcast journalism degree. And so I was like, I'm just going to double major. And then, so I graduate college, and then like my loans start coming due. And I'm like, oh my God, I just need a job.
Yeah.
And to be Barbara Walters, like, isn't going to happen. You start out making 20 grand working nights and weekends. And I'm like, well, that sounds horrible. So so I'm from a small town in South Dakota. I moved out to Colorado just to do my internship for the broadcasting degree. And then I stayed here. So like I said, the bills are coming due and I'm like, I just need a job. So I took a temp job in downtown Denver with like, I would just go be a secretary at random offices, just because I needed money. And I will add, it was rough being a South Dakota girl in Denver, going down one-way streets the wrong way, like a lot. I was like, I'm gonna kill myself.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. But I finally figured it out. But so I did that. And then the woman who owned the company, she's like, you need to be my sister. She's hiring for their receptionist and she's from the Midwest and I know she's going to love you. So I meet this woman, Mary Beth, and she hires me. So that was, then I moved into trade shows and experiential marketing. So I started as a receptionist. I worked there about 5 or 6 years, and I worked throughout the company, really in all the different kind of positions. And then at that, it was a really fun company and great, but like 5 years in, I started just feeling like it was so stressful. Like I was going to yoga with my cell phone next to me, like freaking out that, like, I had a show in New York and the driver, it was late or something was damaged, and like, or the driver was lost. And I remember camping and, having people call me and I'm standing on top of a mountain, like, oh my God, what's happening? Or at yoga and just being stressed out. I'm like, this doesn't even, like, at that point, I'm like, I don't even feel like I'm doing anything that matters. And why am
Yeah.
I so stressed out? Right. I
Right.
was like, this sucks.
Right.
So I was like, well, okay, what now would I go do? Because I have literally no idea. Tried, finally did some soul searching and was like, you know what? I actually want to be a Spanish teacher. Since I have the Spanish degree, never thought I'd like do anything with it. But I also was like, I can't just step into a classroom because I'd be eaten alive because I have no idea how to be a teacher. So I quit that job. I got my master's in education. Then I became a high school Spanish teacher for 10 years. So really completely different stepped into that. And for in that point in life, I needed more education to comfortably step into that. And then did that for 10 years. And then there was one day, the last year was pretty brutal. One kid, one day he called me an effing waste of space. I'm like, huh, tell me how you really feel,
Yeah.
like this, what is happening? And I was just, and then it hit me. I'm like, I'm miserable. Like it was September. I
Mm,
remember sitting in my room and I was like, I don't love this anymore. And so again, when I don't love something, it is like, it hits me so hard and I have to move on. But at this point, I was like, okay, well, I just paid for a really expensive master's. My husband's going to be like, are you serious? Even though I was miserable at home, but I had to be like, okay, well, now what am I doing? And I applied for all these jobs. Nothing, no one called me, no one. And I was like, okay, I'm either a loser or I'm overqualified or something in the middle. I don't know. So I took the only job that I was offered, which was an office manager for a different construction company. So that actually got me, and I only took it because I was so desperate to get out of teaching. That got
right.
me into construction. And then in March of 2020, I started my construction company because what else are we doing then? Not like a worldwide pandemic, but then I actually worked both jobs until April of 22. And then I finally was like, I physically cannot work two
Yeah.
full-time jobs anymore. And yeah,
Wow.
it was crazy. I have been all over the place, but I will say, I don't have business training. I run a successful business. You can go out, I would say to women, like, facing this inner, like, something, I want something different. Go find people who are doing things that might light you up, get around them, see if you like that. Find people that are being successful, be open to the magic of maybe something you never thought of.
Yeah.
But go educate yourself. You don't have to go get a degree. Google it. Like, go take a little class or
Hmm.
something. You know what I mean? You can
Yeah.
actually hustle and figure it out.
Right. Yeah. I really love that. I love your also like listening to that intuition of like, I don't like
Mm-hmm.
this. It's time to move because I think so
Mm-hmm.
many of us like stay stuck for way too long. And then you don't move and you don't understand what might be out there for you, which I feel
Yeah.
like is something you also mentioned, which is like go try different things
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, I'm guilty of this too. I can easily live in my head and overthink it all and
Oh
like
yeah.
sit there and be like, what's my perfect life going to be? And I think I have to think about it more. That's like
Right.
never the actual answer. You have to go out and like try all
Mm-hmm.
of these different things to really determine what is going to unfold for you. Cause I'm assuming you probably never would have thought you would own a construction company
Not at
looking.
all. I never would have thought I would own a company or be in construction, but I like kind of, I don't know, I just like let life take me there. And now I love it. And I like live my most fulfilled life I've ever lived. So it's not like if I would have sat and thought about it, I would
Yeah.
not have ended up here at all, like flat
Right.
out.
Yeah, I love that. Such good advice too, to just like get out of your head and just get into the
Mm-hmm.
action and like
Mm-hmm.
just kind of see where life unfolds. So
Mm-hmm.
you have this construction company. It's very male dominated industry, which
Mm-hmm.
I think in your book you even say like the construction industry is only made up of 10% female. And you're
Mm-hmm.
one of those women. So how amazing for you. But
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the things that that's taught you, like being in that industry that's very male dominated? What have
Mm-hmm.
you experienced first of all, because I'm just very curious. And then also,
Hmm.
what would you say that, yeah, you've like really learned from being in that kind of industry?
Hmm. Well, I've learned to be myself and really, so I have to say though, like I've now met women in this industry that have been in it 20, 30 years or
Yeah.
more. They're the ones that paved the way for me, really. Like they were the
Mhm.
ones like kind of in the trenches and maybe getting more discrimination or being literally the only woman on a job site, right?
Yeah.
For many years. So and I'm like I can be out on a job site, in my hard hat, but I'm a lot of times in the office or I'm out at events or things like that too. I literally do everything. So I kind of am all over the place. So I really I think I don't put up with people treating me badly. Like I'm a confident person. I know who I am at 41 years of life. Like and so I have learned about myself is that I go out into the world as who I am completely. Like what you see is what you get. I'm genuine, I'm honest. My clients know they get to know me and they know like I'm going to help them out. Like I'm not going to ever screw them over. I'm not going to you know what I mean? I genuinely care and I'm genuinely like trying to make their life easier and just be
Hmm.
I want them to love working with us and I want to
Yeah.
make their life easier. So for me, it's like I really had a lot of people take me under their wing and a lot of support. I mean, it's
That's
more than
great.
I probably should have. Just, I mean, you wouldn't think I'd have that much, but I go out now and it's hysterical. Like men are like, "Oh my God, we watch you on LinkedIn. You're just everywhere, girl. You're just doing everything." And oh my God, you have a book out. And they're telling other men, like, she just wrote a book. And they're telling other men, like, well, yeah, she's doing this. And like, she's like famous, which I'm not. But it's so funny there these men's perception of me on LinkedIn, which
Yeah.
is like more of my construction-y like social media. And all I do is go places, take pictures, and I'm like, yay, this was a great event, blah, blah. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm not even doing anything special, but it's the perception that people think I'm everywhere, working with everybody. And so it's so funny to me. But I
Mhm.
mean, I've created really good relationships. Like I love working in construction because I I've always hung out with guys. Like I would
Really?
be in high school like the one girl with like 10 guys.
Yeah.
It's just I'm chill, I'm mellow, I hate drama. So I get along really well with guys, but
Yeah.
and girls too. But
Yeah.
it's been really cool to meet people, and a lot of people are just super down to earth and just
Yes.
talk about life, not even business.
Yeah. I love all of the like what you mentioned about the support because I think that's also
Hmm.
huge when especially when you're
Hmm.
doing something really new and
Yeah,
really new also for our gender honestly. So I
yeah.
love that people kind of took you under their wing and I think that that is a huge stepping stone,
Hmm.
but I feel like in order to do that, you had to put yourself out there. So it's
Yeah,
not like people just took you under their wing because they're like, "Oh, I don't know you, let me just do this." It's kind of because
exactly.
you're like putting yourself out there, right?
Yeah, yeah, and like yeah, you are putting yourself out there, and now when I go somewhere, like people know me.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like they're like, oh, we're friends on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh yeah, totally, sir. Like,
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
idea, but they all know me when I go to these places, and I don't know why. Like, it's just
Hmm.
because I'm real and I'm putting it out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah.
Hmm. I feel like that shows up in your book too. And it just feels like it's genuinely who you are. So I think it's a testament to just really showing up as your whole self and not trying to
Thank you.
posture as if you're something else. And I
Oh
think
yeah,
that
no.
that's something, something like we all have to learn a little bit too, especially going into
Hmm.
the business world. You want to pretend like you know what's going on,
Yeah.
so you can get into maybe bigger rooms or people will trust you or
Hmm.
whatever. But at the end of
Hmm.
the day, like if you're not just authentic, like I don't have a clue what I'm doing, I
Yeah.
feel like it only gets you so far. So are there any, you kind of mentioned like you had this innate sense of getting along with men at a
Hmm.
young age, but do you feel like there are certain personality traits for, women who are starting businesses, especially
Hmm.
in like male dominated industries that are like, okay, you definitely should have XYZ, like tenacity or
Yeah.
whatever those
Yeah.
things are? What would you say that those are?
Yeah. I mean, tenacity and grit, like, I mean, just owning a business in general, you're
Yeah.
pretty crazy. Let's be honest. Like, we are a special kind of crazy. And I mean, oh, yes, I'd love to have everything I own on the line. And, people that don't own a business just don't understand the
Right.
level of things
Yes.
that could go wrong or whatever. But also you can live this amazingly beautiful life too. Like my life is what I make it. And I told my husband jokingly, I'm like, I'm ruined forever. I could never work for anyone else ever again. And I could never go to an office from
Yeah.
8 to 5. Like I would lose, I'd get fired the first day. It'd be so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you have to have this belief in yourself. You have to understand you're in it for the long haul. You will not be successful overnight. It takes so much. Like I remember when I first started the company and like clients would call me, I would be terrified. Oh my God, they're gonna ask me a question. I didn't have a freaking clue what I was talking
Yeah.
about. I had to write stuff down and be like, well, I'll call you back. I'll check. Now I could talk about it in my sleep, right? And they're like, oh, well, I don't even know the answer to that question. I'm like now educating them, but I remember when I started, I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm even like doing really, but you figure it out and then you get really good at it,
Yeah.
and yeah, people, if you're starting a business, like you probably aren't going to get paid right away. I worked for free for years. I just started paying myself this year. So don't think for me, it was more about paying my employees really well
Yeah.
and making sure I had really good people, because if you don't have good people, your business isn't going to succeed.
Yeah.
And one weird thing that my employees tell me, no one does this. They're like, you're just like, literally no one does this, but I have always paid them for 40 hours a week, whether they're working or not.
Mm.
So they might be sitting at home on a Wednesday just getting paid and chilling, but I need really good people, because like if you don't know what you're doing, it's dangerous. People could literally
Yeah.
die. I mean, it's you can't mess around. And I need experts. I need people that they know more than I do, and I just trust that they go out and do what they need to do.
Right.
So yes, I made the choice. I pay more in payroll probably than most people, and I pay them very well. But to me, that's worth it.
Yeah.
So it's like I didn't care about paying myself because I need them. They're the building blocks of the company. It's
Right.
not
Right.
me.
Yeah.
I can get a job, but if they suck, we're not
Yes.
going to get more jobs. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So I would
Absolutely.
say make it your own. Like do things your own way.
Yeah.
No, just because
Yeah.
everybody does this way, I just do whatever I want, and I
Mhm.
go with my gut, and it's led me to build a really cool company.
Right. And I feel like you're really in alignment with your values, which I think is the other
Hmm.
piece. Like when you're talking about payroll. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that we see a lot of in like the corporate world is that when you don't pay people well, you end up
Hmm.
with a half-ass product, right? Like you end up with
Totally.
like all these issues. So I love that you're just pouring it back into your people, which is really what
Hmm.
makes your company successful.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, so what was the award that you won, first of all, for your company? I would love to hear about that.
Yes. So the company won one and I won one just recently. The company won Denver Business Journal. We were a finalist for the extra small business awards, which was
Oh my
super
gosh.
cool. For the
Yeah.
second year in a row, actually. I was like, what?
Wow.
Yeah. And then I just won it was the 25th anniversary of Denver Business Journal Outstanding Women in Business.
Oh
So
my
I won one of
gosh.
those, which was super cool. Yeah, it was amazing. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
congratulations. I think I did
Thank
see
you.
something on LinkedIn about that. So I wanted to
Oh
be sure
yeah.
I asked you, but that's such an amazing award and just a testament, I
Thank
think,
you.
also to your leadership and oh my gosh, all that you've been through to get this company up and successful and running. And
Hmm.
I love to see that. Like I love to
Thank
see
you.
good people, especially women, obviously, like that's my whole passion.
Yeah.
Especially women get rewarded really well, right? Like we need so
Hmm.
many female leaders to just start embracing who they are. So
For sure.
congratulations. That's so awesome.
Thank you.
Where is the company heading next? Like, what do you have? Like, do you have visions of grandeur? What can you share as
Hmm.
far as like, here's what I'd love to see happen?
Yeah. I mean, we've been almost doubling every year. I
Wow.
yeah, it's been crazy. We were in high six figures last year. I was hoping to hit the million threshold. Finally, I did have to have some employment changes in May, so I have a pretty small team right now, but also it kind of like shifted my perspective too of, okay, whatever, you're chasing this revenue, whatever, right? But you also, the more people you have, the more costs you have, right? And and overhead. So right now we've been doing really well. We had June, I think, was our top month ever with actually less employees than I've ever had, which was really cool. It's like actually we can do this.
Right.
And so really my goal is to keep working with the clients we are working with, add, I work from like tiny little companies to like ones that do like 500 billion a year. I'm all in the middle. Like I work with all kinds. So continuing to grow that base and have the people like we are their first call. But really too, it's my goal right now has kind of shifted is to pay off any debt of the company and be a completely debt-free company. So
Mm,
that I then moving forward, I'm really even more stepping up my employee pay, all that, and doing things, giving back to the community more, all that kinds of stuff. So it's kind of where I'm at right now is trying to just be a completely debt-free company and
yeah.
then keep going.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big goal too, especially for a small
Mhm.
business. It's
For
really, I
sure.
mean, I think that we kind of have over sexified this term of being an entrepreneur because everyone now wants to be an entrepreneur, but I don't think
Yeah.
they understand it's
No.
different than what am I trying to say? Multi-level marketing. Like it's totally
It
different than
is. It
that.
is. Mm-hmm.
And it's like for you, you definitely understand on a whole different level. But I think
Mm-hmm.
that people don't realize
No.
the like love, the sweat, the tears that goes into all of it and
Yes.
how you have to like love it so much
Mm-hmm.
that you are willing to not get paid, that you are willing
Yeah.
to like have sleepless, all of that. And
Oh yeah.
I don't think this next generation maybe realizes that.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of times, yeah, I would wake up in the middle of the night and be like thinking, I'm constantly thinking about work, but I do love it. And it's because somebody asked me once, like, well, how did you keep going when you hadn't paid yourself for years? Because I knew I was building something and I believe in what I'm doing and just freaking love it because I'm helping build things people live their lives in. For example, in my
Mm,
town, I live south of Denver. I have helped build the hospital here. We just built a brand new library. I've worked at the airport. I've worked at prisons, schools, hotels, whatever. I've worked freaking everywhere.
cool.
So it's like I love driving around and telling my kids, my boys, look, mommy helped build that. Like next weekend, I'm going to a concert. I won tickets from one of my clients at an event, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited because I helped build that. Like I was there like every week for over a year helping build that. So I get to go and be like, that it's just a sense of pride, right? It's
Yeah.
just, and you're helping for me build things people live their lives in, which how cool is that, right?
Totally. Oh my gosh, that
Yeah.
is so badass. Like, I just love listening to you talk about what you've helped contribute to the actual buildings and like
Thank
listening
you.
to you, you have that passion that like
Mm-hmm.
this is part of your being. It's not just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I hope to make a quick $1 million. Like, that's
Yeah.
so the other end of the spectrum that it's not even
Yeah. It's
funny.
so much deeper.
Yeah.
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 So I love that. Oh my gosh. I am
Mhm.
just like completely enthralled with you and all that you're doing. I feel
Oh,
like
thank you.
it's so awesome just to hear of again, like a woman doing that kind of work. It's really
Mm-hmm.
inspiring. So, but for people looking at it from the outside,
Mm-hmm.
it might look to sound like you have it all, right? Like you've got the family, you've written this
Mm-hmm.
book, you've got this
Mm-hmm.
award-winning business, all of that. So for people who are maybe like comparing themselves to you,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say to that woman?
Oh, I love this. I love this. Number one, I am not perfect at all, at all. And I don't want you to ever think I'm perfect. Like that is not my goal in life. We as women, why do we suffer in silence? And we're like going through hard times. We're like, but all these women, oh, they look like they have it together. They don't. And if they appear and they actually want you to think that, they're fake
Yeah.
and they're lying. So it's like, I am not perfect, nor do I ever want you to think I am. I have figured out, like I said, I'm 41. It has taken me 41 years, but I literally lay in bed at night and as you've read in my book, I've been through some shit.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can say that, sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have been through it. Okay, so I am at a point where I have suffered a lot in life on and off, okay? But I also know you can dig out and when you get out of those horrible times and those tough times that we all go through in various ways, I can so appreciate, oh my God, how blessed I am right now, right? And I lay in bed at night and I'm like, how does it get better? I mean, and I don't need all the fancy things and all this, but like I'm just grateful. And I've found out, like, as I've gotten older, really the last probably couple years, I've taken a hard look at, okay, my habits and things I'm doing and people I'm being around. What makes me feel like total crap and is draining my energy, because I can't function when I don't feel good. Like, I have to be feeling good or I'm just like a mess. So it's like, get rid of this, get rid of that, because those are draining me. I will not hang out with those people because they're mean or they drain me or they're negative or whatever. No, I don't have time for that. I put myself around people that inspire me, women doing amazing things, and it energizes me. And so, like, literally, I am running my company. I wrote my first book. I'm writing my second and third book. I'm starting my podcast. I'm a speaker. But, and my husband was like laughing because the other day I was like, I feel like I've just been lazy lately. I'm just like, want to do less. And he's like, Beb, if that's your lazy, like, you're a lunatic.
Yeah.
But I said, and we were laughing because all this stuff, it's not like I don't feel an external pressure like I have to do that stuff. I do it because it lights me up and I freaking love it. Because yes, I am doing a lot, and most people are like, you're insane. But I really love it. And again, like, 5 years ago, if you said I was doing all this stuff, I would have been like, no, I never wanted to write a book ever.
Yeah.
Never. I was
Yeah.
like, stupid. No, don't, it's not me. And now I'm like, oh, I love this. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have ever done any of this stuff, but I kind of have, like I said, been open to the magic of my life, and I go where I feel like really good, and
Yes.
then I just run with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love all of what you just said, especially about like habits and the different things, like starting
Mhm.
to get really attuned to the things that help you be a high performer. Because
Yes.
sometimes I think we've attached this connotation of like, oh, you go to bed, or like I go to bed really
I
early, I feel like,
love it. I
and
do.
they'll
It's
like drink a
amazing.
cup of tea. And I'm like, where are my girls at that like want to have a cup of coffee in the morning and hang out that way? I'm like not gonna go out
Oh
and
yeah.
party, I'm just
Yeah,
not at that stage because it doesn't make me feel good. And
exactly.
I feel like I used to be like, oh, people are lame who don't do that. But now I'm like, no, it's because if you want to be a high
Yeah.
performance person, you have to have high performance
Mhm.
habits. And so I really love that you're
Yes.
like, and that includes people, right? Like that includes like
Yes.
where your energy is. Somebody asked me recently, like, who's the best leader you've ever had or best boss you've ever had? And
Mm.
when I think about that response, it's someone who openly did not have their stuff together all the time. And
Mhm.
wasn't like completely breaking down to me as their employee, like as a complete hot mess all the time. But I felt like this realness from them
Yeah.
and really like knew who they were as a human. And so I feel
Mhm.
like there's just so much to be said about that level of vulnerability that you can still lead, but actually show
Absolutely.
people what you struggle with, right?
For sure.
And I feel like that's definitely how you lead. And kind of getting into some of your struggle. I mean, I think this
Mhm.
is fairly recently, like within the book, and maybe not, but I kind of got the sense that writing the book like really helped you explore different edges and sides of yourself,
Mhm.
including some of the trauma and like sexual assault that you've been through.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel like writing the book and like kind of going through that experience like helped some of that come to the surface? And how do you feel
Yeah.
like where are you kind of at with your healing journey and all of that?
Yeah. Well, honestly, yeah, the book came out on Valentine's Day, and honestly, like, I being assaulted. So 20 years ago, I was in South America studying Spanish, and I was by myself because I think I had gone. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'd gone the year before with a university group. So then I went back by myself for 3 months the following year, and I was studying Spanish, blah blah blah. And I ended up being drugged and raped and left alone in an abandoned house by my professor down there, the one at the school, and super messed up, obviously.
Oh,
And it was really, I, was alone in a foreign country, totally could have been killed. I did not tell a soul for 20 years.
yeah.
So literally, I think that was one of the biggest things of coming out in this book of like, hi parents, hi husband, hi close friends, like, there's something I haven't told you ever, and it's about ready to go out into the world. And so now, like, it was finally me saying, okay, you don't need to shove that trauma so deep down and pretend like it never happened. You can actually now, 20 years later, start healing from it and acknowledge it and take your power back, instead of that, like, keeping you up at night and you're like thinking, why did you put yourself in that situation? Why? And I'm like, no, it wasn't me. Like, get rid of shame and guilt. So many women, I now like writing that or speaking about it. I'll speak and then I'll go to the bathroom because I always get the nervous peas. And then like, I'll have three women in the bathroom be like, come up to me and say something similar happened to me because we don't share it, right? And it was so traumatizing that I pretended like it didn't happen. I didn't tell anyone for 20 years. So that was a really big piece of, oh my God, now I have to like call my parents and like tell my husband, and they had no clue,
Yeah.
right? But then, also another like probably the actual worst thing I've ever gone through, even worse than that I wrote about was that ended in December of last year, but it was a 2.5 year lawsuit where I was being sued for millions of dollars. And it was the most horrific, heavy, horrible experience of my life, like being attacked, like untrue things said about you, just the most ridiculous things. Spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawyers just to defend this crap. I mean, it's just insane. My kids are like, Mommy, when are we losing our house? Mommy, here's $12. You need it more than I do. Like, I was waking up covered in hives. I just was not okay. And that was so hard to like wake up and like dig through and like run a company and be a mom and like get through just the day, honestly. And I finally just had to get a therapist. I was just not okay. I just wasn't okay. I knew I was struggling so bad mentally. And 2.5 years of just, I named the chapter hell. It was
Yeah.
absolute pure hell. And it's like that one is, I think, the longest chapter in the book because it went on so long. I kept like rambling on and almost using it as a journal because I'm like, oh, this just happened. And now, and just trying to go through my thoughts. And I even wrote like the words I'm trying to put on the page don't even like accurately, I can't even like put into words this experience. And also, since I've done that, so many people are like, oh my God, I'm in a lawsuit right now, or I was in one, and they're just like, it's horrible. Like
Yeah.
so people are, they're dealing with it quietly and they're suffering and they're not, it's almost like by me just sharing all my crazy freaking stories, it's giving permission to people to be like,
Yes.
oh, well, I can share mine if I want. You don't have to,
Right.
or at least heal from it. At least heal from it at the very least, right? And move past shame and guilt.
Right. Yeah,
Hmm.
I love that permission slip piece. And it also was such a profound reminder to me of, because I'm a big proponent of like when you use your voice and when you share your story,
Hmm.
there's just a level of like healing that happens in the world and
Yes, totally.
connection because like you
Yeah.
said, people who have been through it before or just resonate on some level
Yes.
are then like, oh, I connect with you and now I feel
Hmm.
seen in some sort of way.
Yes. Yes.
So I think it's really it's important and it's courageous that you share it in the book because, like you said, that's a very public
Hmm.
way to share that, that information, that
Yeah.
story. So what was it like to share that with your husband and
Hmm.
your parents, like the piece
Hmm.
about the sexual assault? What was
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
process like?
Oh man, I was so nervous. I was just like, I put it off so long. I think I told my husband first, and I think we were sitting in the hot tub, and I'm like, yeah, there's something I need to tell you. Like, it's coming. I am writing about it. And I like told him, and I was like, I'm not trying to like upset you about it. And he was kind of quiet, and he's like, well, do you want to talk about it? And I said, I don't really, now I've like written about it. I'm like, have moved through it.
Yeah.
I said, I'll answer any questions you have, but I don't need to talk about it in depth really
Mhm.
for me. So we talked about it, and then like a week later, he's like, "Hey, babe, like I've been a little off this week," and I was like, "Oh yeah, why?" And he's like, "I've been driving home sobbing. Like I've been driving home from work sobbing. I'm so sad for you, and I'm like angry, and I like wish I was there to protect you." And I'm like, "Honey, that
Yeah.
means so much. Like, but you didn't even know me
Yeah.
then, but I appreciate that you love me and like your goal. He always says, my one goal in life is to protect you and these boys. Like that is it, right? So it kind of hit him hard, and I said, I appreciate that you like care
Mhm.
and feel bad, but like I said, I'm not sitting dwelling on it every day, and I've been moving past it, and I've gotten to the other side. And I said, so do what you need to do. Like I'm not saying don't like just cut it off and move on. But I said, don't sit and like let it like rip you apart for the next like month, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and then my mom and stepdad, I called them and I think I had texted them because I was like, just it, I have to plan. And I said, hey, I need to talk to you guys both. And I'm sure they were like, oh, that's weird. And I told them, and my mom started crying.
Mm.
I think they both did actually. And, they were like, we just feel bad that that happened and like that we couldn't
Right.
help you again,
Yeah.
and same thing. And they were like, we're just so sorry that happened and we weren't there. We wish we could have been there to support you or something. They're
Yeah.
not like we're not mad at you at all, but
Right.
we just wish you didn't go through that alone for 20 years. Yeah. And
Right.
my dad was the last one I told because I was like, that's just like the worst.
Ah,
Like, telling your dad that is like the freaking worst thing to say.
yeah.
And I think he started crying too, and was like, "Well, wow, like that's."
Mm,
He was just like, "Thank you for sharing that with me," and I'm again so sorry. And we all moved through it, and
that's awesome.
now it's not like they're embarrassed of me sharing it. Like that's an intense story, and
Yeah.
I get that some people would be like, "Oh my God, why is she sharing that?" But again, those aren't my people, number
Right.
one, and I'm
Right.
sharing it because I don't need to keep it silent. Like, who am I
Yeah.
protecting? I took my power back and I'm sharing it to, because I know there are sadly so
Hmm.
many other women that have gone through something, not the exact same thing, but something similar that they need somebody sharing so they
Yeah.
don't feel alone and so they don't suffer and, and are dealing with that completely like feeling like they're the only one because they're not.
Right. Right. Yeah. And
Mhm.
sometimes I think we don't like we think suffering in silence. Well, I'm not really suffering. I have a good life, all of this. But you don't
Yeah. Deep
realize
down, it's
yeah,
there.
right.
Yeah.
You don't realize how much you're holding on to and how much it's affecting you. Like
Mhm.
you said, it does do something for you as far as your power. And I think,
Yeah.
like you said, sharing it and actually talking about it is the way
Mhm.
to take your power back.
For
Um,
sure.
because you're not letting it have that grip on you. You're like
Mm-mm.
excavating it from your soul. I feel
Yeah.
like when you actually
Yeah.
get it out into the world. And then,
Hmm.
like you said, it's like so many for all the people who have been through something like that, that then
Yeah.
feel like permission to talk about it or,
Exactly.
maybe do something different in their current situation. So that I think it's hugely powerful. And then, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, going through the lawsuit was, I can't
Ugh.
even imagine that. So I
It
guess
was horrible.
between, yeah, I mean, in your family, so between
Hmm.
these things, do you feel like these events that have really like broken you down and like
Hmm.
you just almost didn't have, other places to turn. Do you feel
Hmm.
like they have made you a better leader, a better mom in some way, shape, or form? Do you feel that they've kind of given you certain lessons?
Yeah. I mean, before well, like I said, I never wanted to write a book. And somehow this book was like the catalyst, the like vehicle for me finally to realize, wow, you've actually gone through a lot of stuff in life from childhood to now. You actually do have stories worth sharing,
Yeah.
right? With the world. And I forgot what the main question was, but
Just the
um,
lessons you've learned,
yeah,
all
but
the
it's
things.
made me who I am, and I am forever stronger. Like if I made it through that last thing where, December 28th, it was over last year, I'm like, oh my God, it's like you have PTSD from it. Like you're just like, oh, it's over. Like you keep waiting to feel that heaviness, right? I've learned so much and I've grown but I know now I can make it through literally anything. Like I know how strong I am, but I also know how low I got.
Yeah.
But I knew at this point in life I had, 20 years ago I did no healing. Now I know myself. I had to get a therapist. I had to stop drinking because that's not helping me. I had to get out in the sunshine and just chill out a little bit and say no to some meetings because I didn't care. I was like, I can't go out and slap on a fake smile because I'm not feeling it right now. Like
Right.
I am in it and it's hard, and I cried more than I ever could. I had more meltdowns than I ever thought I could. Just, trying to run a company and then oh, you have to send thousands of documents to your lawyer by 2 days from now. I'm like, oh yeah, that's really what I want to be doing right now because I
Yeah.
don't have a million other things to do. I mean, just stupid. The
Yeah.
money, I mean, so much money just flying out the window. Like, yeah, if I can make it through all that, I truly know I can make it through anything. And I also feel this inner fire and kind of like
Mm.
want to just kick ass because, oh, you think you're coming for me and you're going to take me down and break me. No, no, you're not. Because a person like that will never break me. I'm sorry, but I will fight until I have nothing left and not let someone like that win. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I've learned that I got some grit and I know I will dig out because I deserve to.
Yeah.
And I will not let that kind of stuff win.
I love that. I kind of have this belief that, trauma has a way of being this like mirror into our soul and into how much resilience we can have and
Mm-hmm.
where like that grit and tenacity comes from and just really shows you what you're made of.
Totally.
Even though it maybe should never have happened, of course, or it was
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
undeserving, all of this, I really
Mm-hmm.
do feel like that there's a power behind it when you can
For
overcome
sure.
it, and
Yes.
there's a collective healing that happens because you're the one that is gifted with this ability to now talk about it and help
Mm-hmm.
other people through it. So
Yeah.
I kind of feel like on some weird way or some weird level that you were like meant to go through some of this, or maybe
Yes.
not
Yes. As much as
specifically,
it
but
sucked, but yeah, I think I was.
yeah.
It's part of my story, right? But I truly think that alone, the lawsuit specifically was a very pivotal moment in my life. And I think I even wrote that in the book. Like, I'm going to look back on this moment right now and it's done. And
Mhm.
my life has just shot off from there
Yeah.
because I'm like, okay, here we go. I am so done. Watch me go. Like, just freaking watch me. You know what I mean? And it has like the things I've done in the last year and it also to show like, during that, I wrote a book. During that, I still had a successful company. I had all this stuff, but I took a step back and was gentle with myself, when I needed to be. But even during the horrible, horrible times, I was still moving forward, still doing the things that did light me up because I needed those even more
Mhm.
at that time. You know what I mean? It's not like you have to just I think there are some people
Yeah.
out there, like it says, you're either going this way or you're gonna go drink, become an alcoholic, become
Go
an
the other
addict,
way. Yeah.
go the other way and just give up. And
Yeah.
that's what your life will always be,
Right.
or you're gonna do this, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
honestly, like to a lot of people, you would have every reason to do that, right? Like they
You
would say, like,
would.
of course, like you want to
Absolutely.
crawl under a rock and you want to just drink
Absolutely.
your problems away, right? And everyone would
Yes.
justify that. But I think
Yes.
it's different to say, you know what? F that. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna
Mm-hmm.
use all of this as ammunition to go
Yes.
build an even better life, even
Mm-hmm.
though like there are probably days where you did throw in the towel, right? Like, because
For
of
sure.
course,
Like, yeah, it was hard, but it's like, are you gonna let that completely define you and change
define
your
it.
life? Or are you gonna let it, yeah, you wallow sometimes and you have a good cry and you like have a day where you're like, oh my God, I just can't. But then you get back up and you suck it up and dig through and find a way to take care of yourself and feel okay. Because what I learned to do that, if I didn't take care of myself and feel okay, I wouldn't have made it through. Like it just would have been so much
Yeah.
worse to get through there, right?
Right. Yeah. And I feel like you're such a good example too of being so true to who you are. Like, I feel like that's one of the big reasons, obviously, that I reached out to you, but it's one of
Mm-hmm.
the reasons I think that you are able to overcome and be successful and do it all in your way, which I think is really
Mm-hmm.
important because I just kind of love the combination. Like even looking at your book and like some of what like your colors are for your branding, it's hot
Mm-hmm.
pink. Like it's hot pink
Mm-hmm.
and it's like neon and
Oh
it's
yeah.
really, you have a
Yeah.
really good combo where I'm sure some
Mm-hmm.
people would say you can't like use those colors. You want to look
Oh
like
yeah.
Barbie or whatever. And you're
Yeah.
like,
I wear hot pink when I go to construction meetings. I don't give a crap. I walk up and it's like all guys. I'm like, hey. And they're like, oh my God, look at you and you're pink. Yep, you got your
yep,
pink on. And the
yeah,
guys commenting on what I'm wearing. It's hysterical.
I love it. But I love it again because it's like, again, it's so true to who you are. And I just feel like,
Mhm.
again, you're such a testament for women out there. So I
Thank
hope
you.
you just feel that. And I hope that you see like the awards and just some of those things that I feel like are not, like nods from the universe that are like,
Mm.
yep, keep going. Like you
Thank
got
you.
something here. So I have just loved this conversation. I could keep talking to you for
I
days.
know.
So
We're gonna just do this every
I'm sorry.
day.
I know. I'm like,
We're new
okay,
besties and every day Zoom.
seriously. I was like, how can we have like a standing meeting where we just get to chat?
I'm fine.
So I love to close out these conversations with I have like the previous guest leave a piece of
Mhm.
advice or something for the next guest, not knowing
Mm,
who it is. And
love
so
it.
I am going to share with you what the last guest shared.
Oh, okay. Let's go.
And she said, your voice matters. Your
Mm,
voice holds a unique frequency, it holds a unique code that is here to make a difference in this world.
that's great.
Yeah, I just feel like that's so you and you're writing your next books. And so
Mhm.
I love that. And I just would love to invite you to do the same. So anything
Thank
that's coming
you.
to you or that
Hmm.
you just feel called to share with other women, what would that be?
I would say keep putting your light out into the world. Like the world needs each of us. None of us are the same. It needs authentic, real, vulnerable people and women going out because the women are going to change the world. These men are like we could have a whole another discussion on that, right? We need strong, passionate, amazing, smart women. So keep putting your light and love out in the world because that's what's going to change the world.
Oh my gosh. That's so, so good. I love that you said that like women are going to change the world because I have this
Yes.
deep seated belief in my heart that this is like the era of that for sure.
Yes, we need to step up and like take control because we approach things so differently.
Yes.
And sometimes when I mean, I'm sure we all can look around and be like, "What?" Sometimes the world is a terrifying place. We need to step into our power and really get out there. We do.
Yeah. And we all have it in us. That's the other
Hmm.
thing. And so
Hmm.
many of us are playing small. So I hope if you've listened to
Yes.
this episode, I hope that you feel on some level like you're seen and you're heard by us. And of course, reach out to Chelsea. I'm going to drop all the links in
Yes,
the
if anything
show notes.
resonated, please.
Yes. And where, like, lastly, yeah, where can people connect with you? I know I'll drop, the
Sure.
link to your book, but where
Mhm.
else can they find you?
Yeah, I would say probably the best place is just my website. It's Chelsea, Chelsea, Husum, Husum.com. On there, it's like all the info, but social links to really anything on there. But yeah, if anything resonated or if you're going through something, like I want to always offer to be a listening ear, truly, because some people just, you need that. And if you're going through it, or if you're like, came out on the other side, but maybe went through a tough time, like I love to hear maybe how something we talked about today resonated with your tribe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And yes, please reach out to Chelsea. It means so much to us to just have you listen in. And so thank you so much for being here, Chelsea. Gosh, this has
Thank
been
you.
an amazing conversation.
Yes,
I
thank
feel
you.
so lit up and energized, and you're just doing really powerful work in this world.
Thank
So I
you.
just want to thank you for that. I am so grateful that you took the time to come and hang out here with me today. And honestly, I can't thank you enough. So instead, I will just say that I would appreciate your continued help in keeping this show on top by dropping a 5-star rating and leaving a review. It truly helps the algorithms and helps keep us on the edge. I'm sending you a virtual aggressive hug, which is the only way I like to give hugs. And thank you again for joining me in this wild, awesome ride. I look forward to hanging out with you next time. And until then, remember that you deserve a place on the top. And I'll see you there.